Well, all right. This is episode 30.
Er,
We made
Can't
it.
believe it's been 30.
All right. You guys got it. Go ahead. Do what you need to.
Aiden,
Cool. Where do you
Monday.
want to start, man? Do you want to? I guess we'll just start with the bad and then just finish off with the good. The
Pretty
bad,
much.
the big ass elephant in the room is just how
Bad.
all of our picks were so wrong as to
So
Yes.
here's something I realized today when I was getting prepared for this. I realized there was an error uploading our last video, so it never uploaded. Nobody knows what our picks are.
so I'm gonna skip.
Good.
I picked Vegas in
Good.
6.
Good.
So I'm going
Good,
to
I'm-
skip over that.
So did I. I picked Vegas at 6 too. We all picked Vegas at 6.
I picked Vegas in 4. Anyway, no, it just. What can I say? What can I say other
That
game-
never.
in a
happened.
nutshell. In a nutshell, game 1 we deserved to lose. Game 2 we lost, but we should have won.
Did we deserve to lose? That entire game was really close.
Game 1
Yes.
we didn't look
Game
as
1
good.
and 2 could have gone either way. I mean, look, regardless of how bad you look in games, there are games that you're not supposed to win that you should look that towards the end you should find a way to win that game. But game 2, you had that game up until the last 2 minutes of the game and you gave it up.
Yeah, I still remember.
Continue.
I was listening to it literally on my way to the airport, and I was like, "Oh, cool! Like 2 minutes to go. Like we'll be great." Nope. And then game 3 was just a catastrophe, a nightmare. And then game 4 was better. Game 5 better, and game 6 was
So here's the thing.
garbage.
Realistically,
Because we were exhausted.
we know game 3 and game 6 we were never going to win those. Game 5, it was close early, but then we pulled away at the end. We were going to win that game. The other 3 games, 1, 2, and 4, could have gone either way. I mean,
Yep.
You got those games going to overtime and all these different crazy things. It was a really close series other than those 2 games, really. So, yes, is it annoying? Am I sad about it? Not anymore. It is what it is. Go Panthers, by the way.
Hopefully, they can keep up that Cinderella run they
Like-
have going on right
Like
now.
every year, now we get to talk off season and see what Jim Nill does.
And I think it's just another fantastic example of a Dallas team being successful but not successful enough. So that's all.
There's
I
a lot
really
of
gotta say
similarities
about 'em.
between-
I could go on for another half hour, but I don't want to.
I mean, as successful as they were this year, it does feel like it was a bit of a letdown because, I mean, you fought in 2 really tough teams in Minnesota and Seattle. Vegas was tough, but I don't know if they were. I didn't think they were as good as the other 2 teams.
Well, here's the thing.
And
Vegas was the number 1 overall seed in the West. And Dallas finished as the 3rd best team in the league this year. By default, since Carolina got swept. Is it the ultimate finish we want? No. But was this a really damn good year? Absolutely.
Yes.
Were we better than we were last year? Absolutely.
Yep.
That being said, when we're going from a defensive-based system to an offensive-based system, there's going to be changes. And we saw that because outside of Miro, our defense was kind of gross.
which has to be
Suter's too old.
addressed.
We don't need $4.5 million a year or whatever we're paying him. S is fine. Hakanpah needs to be more consistent. Harley was a good find. Like, we knew he was good. He was a first-round draft pick. But he just needed time, and he kind of grew into his role the more playing time he got. I'll say Nils Lundqvist. That was annoying trading a first round pick for him, and he was basically a healthy scratch the second half of the season.
Colin Miller was a joke.
He was dreadful for a lot of the season. There was a couple high points, but he was an offensive defenseman.
Yeah,
and he was never designed to defend very well. We just need to have better line matchups, because the reality of it is we match up Miro with Suter. You match up our best defenseman by far with our arguably one of our worst, most experienced for sure, but as far as athleticism and what's left in the tank, that's to be determined. But then you're going to match up Lindell with Hockenpah, and you've got two Bigfoots out there that are moving at the speed of slugs.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was at the game where.
And then you got the bottom line of Harley Hanley, which I actually don't. I like Harley, and I kind of like Hanley. Like, Hanley's got a lot of experience. Like, he's 31, but he's not an all-star. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's serviceable as your 6th or 7th defenseman.
Sure.
And Harley's a rookie,
that.
so that line by default was never designed to be great. Is there potential there? Yes, but they weren't designed to be good. That being said, is if you get better matchups next year and better pairings, then we can go pretty far.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. They need to address the issues that were on defense, and I guess for lack of a better term, they just got to get more experience for those younger guys that don't have a whole lot of playoff experience, because we are what is the average age of our team? Like,
that was beautiful experience. As like I said, it wasn't like JC said, it wasn't the result we wanted. It was quite honestly a little bit more disappointing, but like they got the experience. I mean, going as deep as they did and I think after a while even Robo started to get some confidence that he hadn't had, and he's been in two playoffs already. So like they got some experience, and it's going to be very beneficial for them going forward. And yeah.
I mean, the reality of it is our team was built the way you would ideally build a team. You have young superstars with veteran leadership, and you've got super young guys contributing. Like, we've got our young all-stars, Robo, Hintz, Miro, stuff like that, Ottinger at times.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your old leadership. You've got Ben, Pavs, Suter, leadership at least, Sagan. And then you've got your rookies killing it. There's Delandria,
Johnston.
Wyatt Johnston turned 20 in the middle of the playoffs. You got
Freddie was having a fantastic playoffs, by the way.
Absolutely. He didn't really get many points, but he's one of those guys where he's everywhere.
His motor runs like he's in his 20s.
Which, I mean, he is now, but that's the point.
Yeah, exactly. But like,
and then you got Harley, who he's finally he's going to be in your top 6 defenseman next year. I don't care who's getting left out. Harley's in your top 6 next year.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you think about guys like Maverick Bork coming through the system. You've got Stankoven, who's going to be on the Major League roster next year. You've got even more young guys that are NHL ready. They just need to get in the lineup. And so the reality of it is, boys, is next year we may be really young.
Yeah, which is good and bad. So, well,
it's going to be a work in progress. But I mean, with that, with this past playoffs, you have people with playoff experience that are going to be there. So, you do have really young guys, but you also have guys that have some sort of veteran mindset when it comes to how the playoffs are run now.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just see. But I think the way that this final is shaped up, it's kind of like even the most well-outfitted team didn't make it. So there's an element of randomness to it that also could play in our favor. So We'll see.
I mean, I hate to say that because even though makeup-wise we're one of the best teams, Vegas has a damn good makeup. They're big, they're physical, they're fast, and they're super talented. I mean, when you've got the names they've got on their roster, it's hard to beat it, right? Like
It is hard to beat it. I wouldn't put them as the best though. The best and that I'm talking about is the Bruins, who arguably is the best
Best on
regular
paper.
the best regular season team to ever play.
well, not only
But
they were.
I don't know if
not
you can
there.
say the Bruins are the best on paper, but they definitely were the best in reality, at least coming into the playoffs.
Oh yeah, and I mean they set the record like that.
But I think sports has shown you time and time again that just because you're the best on paper and just because you had a fantastic regular season doesn't mean you're going to do much of anything.
Well, that's my
I know that very well.
But that's my point. When
I'm not sure that we've talked about it here, but
Parody.
I think it's hilarious how Monty's system works when you have players that can score goals. Because that's the thing. I mean, Jim Montgomery has an amazing defensive system, but to make it work properly, you've got to have guys that score goals. That's what happened in Dallas, right? Was we weren't giving up more than 2 goals a game, but we couldn't score 2 goals a game.
Right.
When you get a roster and a team like Boston where you've got the ability to not give up more than 2 goals a game, but then you got guys like Marchand, Pasternak, guys like that can really put it in the net. Like that's why they won 60-something games this year.
Yeah, they set the record. They were, and like you mentioned defense. They were averaging, I think, goals allowed a game somewhere around 2. I think it was 2.07. If memory serves me right, it was something really.
Not that it matters, but I know what you mean.
It matters, but no, Monty's system was fantastic on defense when you can actually have scores, which Boston has a plethora of.
Here's the deal. They played 82 games. They gave up 177 goals this year, so a little over 2 a game.
Yeah, they did really, really, really well. But that's the point I'm making though, is that there's that randomness to it to have Florida come all the way back. And
it's the parody in sports.
Here is the comparison though. No other team in the league gave up under 200 goals this year.
Mm-hmm.
The next closest was Carolina at 213, and then actually Dallas at 218.
So yeah, I knew we were third.
So,
I knew that, but
we actually weren't terrible defensively this year.
No, it seemed like it at times, but we weren't. But
because of
the point is that even though we're going to be super young next year, who knows? Maybe some randomness could come in and work in our favor, kind of like what has for the Panthers. I
think the thing that we have to face is when it came to playing the league as a whole, we were a really, really good defensive team. But when we start playing the better teams in the league consistently, they show our flaws. And that ended up being what finished us. And that's really what we've got to spend time figuring out in the offseason is how can we get even better defensively, not just on a season-long grind standpoint, but in a crunch time playoff standpoint. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be hard because we're not going to have a ton of cap room in the offseason. And we've got like, I think we're going to have between 7 and 10 million, and we have 7 to 10 guys we've got to either let go or re-sign.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to be a mess, but it's going to be really interesting.
Jim,
I think you've got to re-sign Ty Domi. I didn't realize that guy's 28. I thought he was 30-something.
Did you call him Ty Domi?
Not Ty Domi, Max Domi. What the hell? I said his dad's name. Crazy. That's his dad's name. But that'll be interesting. Alas. All right, real quick. Panthers, Vegas. Predicted.
Statistically, Vegas, my gut is telling me Florida.
Dude, it's one of those things. What's that?
I'll let you start since you already in.
It's one of those things that's really difficult to me because from firsthand experience, it seems like Vegas is that team this year. But there's something about Florida that is odd. Like they're just electric, and they are very, very good. And Matty Kachuk is
Chucky
cooking.
Yeah, he's doing so well,
and now they're going to start their series on like over a week's rest.
You know, there is that thing,
which is both good and bad, but
for them, they're going to be healthy and rested.
Yeah, they're going to be
may
healthy.
Be some aspect of rust and filling into the game, but we'll see how that plays out after 2, 3, 4, 5+ games.
And I watched them play a little bit of this postseason, and they honestly remind me a little bit of the year the Capitals played Vegas in the final and Ovechkin got his first one. They look, in their style of play, extremely similar. So there's something about their continuity that they somehow found when it matters most. So
there's a saying.
I'm picking Florida.
Okay. There's that thing where it's like, Cinderella's doesn't always get the happy ending in sports, but it doesn't feel like Florida's been anything of a Cinderella. I mean, maybe at the beginning playing Boston and taking care of that series, but the way they took care of Toronto, the way they took care of Carolina, I mean, they've.
What's funny is when you think about it, they would be the definition of a Cinderella because they were the 17th best team in the league this year. They're the last team to get into the playoffs.
Last team to get in.
From the way they played the regular season, from the way they snuck into the playoffs, yes, but the way that they've handled the playoffs, it looks like a Cinderella or a solid team pretending to be a Cinderella.
Well, but they're still the definition of a Cinderella.
By the definition, the way you explain it is they got hot at the right time. I mean, they had to make a run the last 3 weeks of the season to get in, and they did everything they had to get in, and then they beat the number one team in the league by far, historic team.
Yes.
They beat the Maple Leafs, but that's a meme, so I'm not worried about that. Then they cooked Carolina.
Yes.
And now they're in the finals against the number one team from the West, which they're really, really
very good defense.
But
very good defense, a lot of stars on that team.
Absolutely. So this is going to be their. I don't even want to say it's going to be their biggest test because I'd argue Boston was their biggest test.
Boston,
absolutely.
Sure.
But you've got.
But can they keep it up?
You've got the best team coming out of the West this year, so it's going to be a challenge, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. As much as here's the thing: for both of these franchises, it'll be their first cup.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, something about Vegas being an expansion team, I want them to wait and earn it a little bit longer. That's just me.
For me, it's about them being.
Imagine if you were a Leafs fan saying you want Vegas to wait a little longer.
Yeah. Good thing I'm not a Leafs fan.
Hey, remember whenever they wanted Florida? Hey, remember when they wanted Florida?
Huh?
What?
Aiden.
What?
I said, remember whenever Toronto wanted Florida?
We want Florida. Yeah. No, that beloved fan base of
I don't think you do.
Pathetic.
No, they didn't. They thought they did, but they definitely didn't. So
their fans just are so. I mean, every fan base has their
Cowboys fans.
Yeah, Eagles fans. Every fan base, but no, they literally act like their beloved hockey team is the. I'm gonna steal this. The second coming of Christ, because that's just how they are. And
I mean, they are probably the NFL to Cowboys fans.
But the thing is their drought is longer than ours. I mean, we were in existence then. Their drought's longer than ours. Their last.
So I saw the statistic. I saw the statistic yesterday, and it was since the Cowboys' last Super Bowl, 1995, of the 4 major sports in DFW, there's been 108 combined seasons. For a major sports market, we have seen 2 championships in 28 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is the worst of a major market by far.
Huh.
So when I say
Big
we've
market
been
teams
used to
pretending to be
mediocrity,
small.
thank you. Yes, we are used to mediocrity and we're used to getting our heart broken. So suck off, Philadelphia fans. Go play with yourself, Boston fans. Like, I don't want to hear your complaining. Like, shut up. We've been through it, okay? So, yes, leave us alone to cry because Boston fans want to complain. And yes, you got your hopes up. Sorry, Celtics. That was all for nothing.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Wasn't it?
They got cooked. They didn't get cooked as bad as we got cooked in our last game, but all those 3 games for a no-show in Game 7 at home.
Well, it just goes back to they just wore themselves out. I mean, you there's a reason why teams have never done a reverse sweep because it is hard to do. You talk about you talk about like going week to week, and you talk about having to, whenever a team comes off an emotional win, can they bounce back next week? You have to go from emotional game on, let's just say today, then you have to do it in 2 days. Then you had to do it the day after that. Then you had to do it the day after that. Then you had to do it the day after that. Then you had to do it the day after that. Like that takes so much energy and so much. I don't care if you have the best players on your team trying to do that. It will wear you out.
Well, it's actually really interesting because for how much we talk about playoff hockey, how close the games are, and how much parity there is, there's been more reverse sweeps in the NHL playoffs than there have been in the NBA playoffs.
It hasn't happened once in the NBA. It's happened 4 times in hockey. Yeah.
So I feel like it's really interesting because there's so much parity in the NHL. It feels like even if a team is up 3-0, it feels like they should be able to win one of those last 4 games even by luck. Where in the NBA, it feels like if a team gets control and momentum, they should be able to keep it flowing. But we're able to see you get players that are – well, here's the thing. In the NBA, it's easier for one single player to take over. Like, which is what we saw, right? We see Jimmy Butler cooking. Like this season, we saw Jimmy Butler cooking. Like games 1 through 3, no question about it. And even in the 3 losses, he still was carving up Boston. And just in that Game 7, nobody could touch him. And Boston didn't take shots, but that's a different story. And so I feel like it's easier for a single player to take over a game in the NBA than it is the NHL, and that's why we haven't seen one yet.
Yeah.
That's the sad stuff.
That's.
Let's talk about what we're going to get our hopes up about next.
Hold on. 1 sec.
No.
Aiden, I think. Huh? No. 1 sec. Aiden made his prediction. I don't think I made mine. And JC, did you make yours?
He did. He said he wants Florida.
I'm going with Florida in 6, but I think Vegas may win.
I'm going Vegas in 7. And I think 7 could go. I think 7 would be the number, but I think it could go either way. But Vegas in 7. All right, let's move on to the next topic.
What are we going to get our hopes up about now, boys?
I'm not getting my hopes up about the Rangers.
Not trying to.
I would just like to
We're not going to.
They have just
we aren't going to.
So fun to watch. They are far exceeding any expectation I had, and for good reason. We all know what they were after being
Yeah.
just literal moral support
Dog.
last year. Now they literally to the second, I think this week, the second team in the power rankings, best start in history. I could go on. They could honestly make the playoffs. I would not, and they could get swept. I would not care. I am so proud of this
Yeah.
team and their resilience and how well they've bounced back.
There is a difference between what the Stars did and what the Rangers are doing. The Stars, I feel like there is an expectation with that and I don't know about maybe Western Conference Finals, but there was an expectation for not Western Conference. Yeah, no, I was right. There was an expectation for them to make us to be at a certain place, and that was far above what they did last year, which is a first round exit. The thing with the Rangers is the expectation for me. I think the ceiling for me was uh, being in a position to go and get a wild card. It doesn't mean they had to make a wild card. It just meant to your three, three, 3 to 5 games out of the wild card. But what they're doing right now is beyond that. It doesn't, it's not championship contender at all. I still have that expectation to be in the wild card, but right now they're a playoff team, and their offense has been outstanding. But their bullpen remains an issue, and the defense is a little suspect at times. You could see reasons why they will lose a playoff game, but what they're doing in the regular season, they're kicking ass, and it's
Funny you
wonderful.
mention the bullpen. Speak it, and the universe shall do it.
One time.
Calling up my guy Grant Anderson when our bullpen is terrible. Bring up people from the minors who are ready, and Grant Anderson yesterday proved that point.
Hopefully
He 2 2.3 innings, 8 batters faced, struck out 7.
7 Ks.
And his numbers in the minors have been, it's the minors, but his numbers in the minors have been outstanding. So far,
hopefully he can
it's one
replicate
game. It's
that.
one game, right? But still, in theory, if there's maybe a couple more guys down in the farm that are ready, use it.
Bring him up.
Bring them
Doesn't
up.
hurt.
Didn't hurt yesterday.
JC.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun to watch yesterday. Doesn't change the fact our bullpen still has a lot of issues. Honestly,
For the rest of the year.
That will be the thing that ultimately comes up to bite us if we end up being a true contender this year.
Yeah.
Which, through a third of the season, we're in first place. We have the best run differential in the league, historically good run differential. So when we're beating teams, we're beating them handily, but we're also giving up way more games than we need to. I mean, we're 13 games over 500, 15 games over 500, and it should be 20 games over at least, with how many games we've handed to other teams because our bullpen is awful.
At least 8.
So that's one of those things, like we talked about the Stars, where our stuff in the regular season when we're playing the league as a whole is good enough to get us where we want to be in the playoffs. Will it be exposed in the playoffs on a day-to-day basis? Abso-freaking-lutely. So that's where the front office over the next month, 2 months before the trade deadline is going to have to make hard decisions of, are we truly going to compete this year, or are we going to wait? I'm happy where we're at now, and to say, hey, we need to go ahead and go for this. Like, we have a legit chance this year. Keep in mind, a lot of what we've done this year so far was without Corey Seager. He's back now, and he's looking really good. And we're still doing it without DeGrom, which hopefully he'll come back healthy at some point. And that'll be an additional boost to our rotation. But our rotation hasn't been a problem this year. Our rotation actually has like the best ERA in baseball right now.
Yeah.
But our bullpen is losing its games. So
Yep.
the front office is going to have to say, hey, we've got a shot this year. We need to make sure this part of our team is shored up, even if it costs us assets, because
but
if we have a legitimate chance, we need to act on that. And I feel like even though this may or may not have been the year we wanted to truly push for it and giving ourselves a chance, if we're there, we've got to go for it. And so it's going to be really interesting over the next month, 2 months to see how our team evolves, because we're good, but we need to take another step if we're truly going to compete consistently.
And then
when we start playing teams like the Rays, the Yankees, the Astros every day, we're going to need to make sure our bullpen is stable and deep.
Yep.
Because those are the type of teams that will strike quick and cost us games. And so I need CY and Bruce and everybody else in that front office to say, all right, we're good, but let's get better and make sure we're stable finishing the year. And so honestly, like the Rangers are probably, I mean, of all the major 4 sports teams, they've been the closest to winning it without actually winning it, literally. Final strike twice. Even though the Stars made 6 games in 2020, whatever that was. But
the Mavericks won it in 2011, which is around the time that the Rangers.
The exact same year.
Actually, no, you're right. Yeah, no, the Rangers were the last one.
Because that was right, June 11, and the Rangers lost to the Cardinals in November of 11.
So like 4 months.
God, that would have been an awesome year.
Yeah.
Man.
Anyway, though.
The bullpen.
Like I said, like we've kind of talked about, I'm ready for disappointment again, and it's almost what I'm expecting at this point.
The thing is that I'm going to be irritated regardless. I'm probably going to be more than irritated, but like I said, this is not what we were expecting from the Rangers at all, and from the bullpen, this is kind of what I was expecting, because we came into the with the bullpen not doing anything, and it's kind of hard to turn your bullpen into something whenever you've sat dormant for the last 10 or so years, and you finally decide to do something the last 2 or 3 years. So it's going to be a work in progress. But like JC said, if it looks like it's now, I mean, you try to do everything. You try and go to the farm to see if there's guys capable of turning that into a capable bullpen. And
it's funny how the goalposts move.
Look at guys.
It's funny how those goalposts change and move, because we were absolutely coming into the season. We would have been absolutely ecstatic if we were mediocre and pushing for a playoff.
Yes.
Now that we've done through a third of the year, now our expectation is making the playoffs and making a run. And that's how everybody's things changing. And I guarantee the front office and the leadership on the team are seeing it that way as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But that being said, if that's your new goalposts, what are you going to do to make that happen? And if it's one of those things where we stay where we are, we don't make any moves, then we kind of know where the priorities are and what our season's going to be. Whereas if we start seeing players dealt, things change, now we kind of know where we're trying to accomplish. So that's why when I say I'm trying to follow what the team's doing over the next month, 2 months, that's what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what they do, but I mean,
Nate Lowe said the division is ours to lose.
It is. I mean, the
Astros are number 2, so
we've seen disappointing second halves, though. We've seen disappointing second halves, though.
And like I told you guys off
Josh
air,
Hamilton.
a lot of the teams we've played so far. Well, like I told you guys so far, a lot of teams we've played to this point are not very good.
No.
And we've won a lot of series, which is great.
It shows that they're improving.
True. And we're winning the series we should be winning. But as our as our season moves into June and July, a lot of our opponents become tougher. We're playing the Astros more, we're playing the Mariners more, we're playing the Yankees, the Red Sox, the
Mhm.
The
Rays.
Rays, the Blue
And
Jays,
so
the East in general, which
the
is
East
tough.
is
The
bonkers.
East is insane.
I mean, you've got every single team above 500
in the East. Yeah.
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 So,
but I mean, that's a point that I was about to bring up as well. Is that this game's coming up. I mean, we talk about being the teams that we're supposed to be, but we're not. We weren't going to say that at the beginning of the year. That's a nice barometer of where we are right now. Now we get to see, are they capable of taking that's another step that we thought would have been years in the making, which is being in the in a championship contender. Because if you can play with those teams, then you can consider, I don't know, about maybe playoff, maybe, I don't want to say championship contender, but I mean, you play the Rays and you play the East in general, and you play the Yankees, and you show that you're capable of playing with those teams. Now all of a sudden, the talk about going really deep into the playoffs start to become more of a thing than it was at the beginning of the season.
As the saying goes, time will tell.
It definitely will. It definitely will.
We'll see what happens by July 1st or the All-Star break.
Lord Jesus, for the love of everything that's holy, let's make sure we can keep her going. But all right, we've been going a little over 30 minutes, so let's wrap her up since we did this late tonight. What's y'all's closing statements?
I don't have one tonight. Nothing really new.
You don't have one?
No, outside of the normal. That is a standing rant, always with Jerry Jones.
Yeah,
Cowboys,
nothing's
really
really
been
going on. Arkansas just got a guy to come back from the NBA draft. Devo Davis is making his return for his senior year, so hopefully that does something good for us. Also, the NCAA tournament in baseball is about to start, and I'm sure you're keeping up with the softball tournament.
Yeah, you snuck into the baseball tournament, despite some people's unhappy reactions to it.
They made the baseball tournament.
They did. They snuck in. They're in the Final Four in, and K-State was particularly unhappy about it. They had a better record than us, and they swept us in the regular season. But the RPI was 15 spots worse than ours, and so we got in.
Really?
Yeah.
We're
at the UVA region.
Arkansas's at home. I can't remember who the other two teams are, but the second seed in our district, in our region, is TCU, and they beat the heck out of us the third game of the season. So hopefully that doesn't happen again.
I'm honestly not expecting us to get out of the regional, but I'm glad we got in. That's fun. When you think about it,
it's nice not to.
Half our roster got drafted last year after our big run, so making the playoffs is a big feat.
Well, it's nice to be in the tournament without expectations, because, well, we'll see what happens.
But I will tell you this: what's a lot of fun is the softball tournament.
Yeah, I'm sure you were having a lot of fun with that one.
Speaking of which, Texas got cooked by Tennessee.
Don't care.
Goodness.
Don't care. Even though Texas is in the baseball tournament too, I don't care that much. It's not football. Football means the most. Then basketball is a close second, and then a distant third onward is baseball.
Yep. I think that's all I have, though.
Dude.
Texas wins, great. I'll be happy, but
Well, Texas is out of the softball tournament because they got run ruled by Tennessee in the Super Regional. and OU's the number 1 seed. But I know you guys don't really care about it, but I would implore you guys to watch the softball World Series because those are electric games.
They're fun to watch.
And honestly, the matchups this year are really, really good. Tennessee, Alabama is going to be fun. Tennessee's probably going to win. Florida State, Oklahoma State's going to be really, really good. OU, Stanford will be all right. But then you've got Washington, Utah, and that's going to be really good also. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens. But I would say indulge yourselves if you can. Like I said, OU baseball is probably not going to make it out of its regional at UVA. But fingers crossed, knock on wood, we'll see what happens. And it's summertime, so sports are slowing down, but there's a lot of fun things to talk about, and we're going to have to create some stuff to enjoy ourselves over the meantime.
But as the days go by, football season starts to...
We are officially, I believe I saw it, 95 days from week 1 in college football.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which means we
counting
are
down the days till we get back to fun.
We are less than 90 days away from week 0.
Yep, that should be a lot of fun.
Well, think about it.
Are we done?
Think about it.
Are we done?
May 31st. June 1's tomorrow. Yeah. You've got 8 weeks before fall camp starts. It's a matter of time.
I can already feel the excitement. So I can feel the excitement
We're
already.
almost there.
I'm ready for the Cowboys to let me down again.
There it is. We're waiting for it.
Yeah. I'm
Thanks
ready.
for
I'm ready for another stupid thing to happen in the fourth quarter with 10
Chris,
seconds
shut up
to
about
go
the
in game.
Cowboys, or I'm going to get rolling.
29 straight years.
Go. Go Rangers. Go Hogs.
Uh-huh.